welcome into the Questionable Podcast. You got Scotty Questions here with Meko
What's good, man?
and Gionne.
Hey,
Hey,
Scotty. I think you
Yes.
should be. I
yeah,
think you should be the hype
Yes.
man. You should be the hype man for the Detroit Lions on the sideline,
so we were
running up
laughing.
and down.
We were laughing coming into the intro, talking about hype man and the game, this past weekend against the Seahawks and how they were getting hype amped before the game, and the Lions just don't have a hype man, and we were,
hmm
and I was singing in the intro that maybe I should be the hype man. So, hey Lions, give me a call if you need me. Here. So anyway, yeah, what's up, fellas? What a week! Wow, since we've last spoke, and we're here. We're here a little bit earlier this week. We're trying to move up our podcast, so that's what's up. But again, let's get to the business. Please like, follow, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, head over to questionabletees.com to get all of the coolest Lions apparel in Detroit. Um, yeah, and a couple of things, couple updates. Meko and I were able to meet Malcolm Rodriguez, this past week. That was fantastic. Shout out to him. Shout out to Pro Sports Zone also for
Yeah.
organizing all of that. Also, shout out to Easy and Spence Raxter for helping us get connected as well. Shout out to you guys. Thank you for everything. And it was really cool. Like, John, we talked a little bit about it. Meko, we were there. We were hanging out with the fans. We got to meet some really cool fans, made some really great connections, and literally sold a hoodie off my back. So
It
people
was
in the year, it was crazy. Meko,
it was unreal, man. Like honestly, driving up to that event, I didn't know what to expect. Never been to a signing before. Um Lions fans are awesome though. Like in all honesty, right? Like just when you once you find that camaraderie and it's just like let's talk about the team and um yeah, we got to just meet so many cool people and again the line was long, but when you're having like a really good time with fellow fans and you guys are just talking about the team and obviously yeah we get to talk about our apparel and what we're doing as a brand and everything. It made that time like just worth it, so I can't say enough about that event. Shout out to the people that we got to hang out with, got to make those really cool connections with. It was really fun.
yeah, and Malcolm was so nice, right? Like
Oh,
everything you would
just
expect, the nicest dude ever. The
yeah.
nicest dude ever. I mean, he went above and beyond for us. He loved the gear too. That was great. We got his actual response in front of us in regards to the gear and the apparel. If you haven't seen it, check it out at questionabletees.com. Yes, I will shout it out, deal with it. And he loved it, dude. We hooked him up, long sleeve, short sleeves. We got hoodies coming for him. Yeah, and like I said, I sold it off. Thankfully, I had a couple pieces with us. But yeah, my hoodie, I sold it to Joe in Ontario. Shout out. Um, and off my back, man. Like, you okay?
Like dude wanted it. And again, like
It
if
was
you if you have not checked out questionabletees.com, final plug and then we'll definitely get into the meat and potatoes of the show. But like if you have not checked out questionabletees.com, don't do it because we're asking you to and because like you feel like we're trying to get money out of you. No, no, no.
no.
Just go take a look. We promise you there's probably something on there that you're gonna like, whether it's the Rodrigo piece, whether it's the Motor City Dan Campbell piece, the Serpent of Death piece, the Amon Ross St. Brown piece that we just
Just
launched last week.
I gotta get me
There's
one.
plenty of cool stuff.
Hawkamania.
I gotta get
Hockamania,
Hakamania 2.0. I gotta get
Yeah.
Hockamania 2.0, Kneecap Noodle Soup 2.0 with the Distressed. That's up on the website. Like there's some really cool stuff. Not to mention, again, we still have a few more weeks of us dropping some more Lion stuff. But
Yup.
even then, like we're gonna be dropping some more branded pieces. Scotty and I have been busy talking and planning some stuff. So,
And
like he
Gian.
said,
And
and
Gian.
Gian,
Yeah.
there is some really cool stuff coming on both the website side, the podcast side. I'm super excited for where we are headed.
More things on the horizon. Anyways, having said that, that was cool. John, do you have any questions about our Rodrigo experience? Well, before we get into the meat and potatoes here.
No, I got like a complete debrief when you were like leaving the event, so
I just
I
didn't
don't
know
really
if
have any
any other
questions.
questions, arose. That's all. Okay. Um
Were
so
you a little jealous that you couldn't be there?
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know what the right answer is here. Because if I say no, people are
It's
like,
the-
oh,
it's
he's
the
not a
honest-
real sports
Right,
fan.
no,
He's
that's
a
an honest
fucking
answer.
phony.
I mean, the correct answer was yes, because I didn't get to hang out with you guys. That was the correct
Ew.
answer.
There. Well, yes, that's yeah.
So anyway, all right. I guess we'll dig into this now after we talked about the good stuff. So yeah, all right, we're here today on a Monday. Lions lose to the Seahawks 48-45. Our predictions and the score were incorrect. But
Well,
we did get a couple things right. Well, we did get a couple things right.
Yeah.
Meko, we were in the right direction. We knew what needed to happen. But that's a tough loss. That was something I did not expect. I don't think anybody expected it. I think that we have a lot to talk about here today. We have a lot of good questions. Meko, thank you for organizing. And I'm going to have Meko lead us off right now because I think he has a lot to say.
yeah, like Scotty said, most of this episode, listen here, it ain't all good. There ain't a lot of good stuff to talk about. Okay. But before we jump into this murky depths of despair, I feel like we got to give a little bit of praise to the offense and the guys that did show up, the guys that did put on a really good performance and really keep the Lions in this game. Not to try to leave anybody off, but I got to give a huge shout out to Jared Goff, Jamal Williams, TJ Hawkinson, who, for anybody that was out there saying that TJ needed to do more, or that TJ was turning into Eric Ebron 2.0, or that TJ wasn't carrying his weight, please do me the biggest favor and take the thing in your mouth and lick the bottom of my mocha covered ball sack. All right. Because TJ balled. TJ balled out in a way
Oh boy.
that I knew he was capable of. You guys really got to take a step back and chill out when it comes down to picking apart certain players on this offense, because for the first time in years, probably in decades, we have a complete offense. You have weapons on the outside and the backfield. You have a stellar offensive line. It's not a one-man show. So if TJ's not doing well, but they're still putting up points and the ball's going to Saint, or it's going to Swift, or it's going to Jamal, or Josh Reynolds is killing them deep, or DJ Chark is having a game, I need you to shut the hell up when it comes to TJ Hawkinson, because TJ is officially a piece of a very good offensive puzzle. Speaking of which, that got to get back to my list. Huge shout out to Josh Reynolds and a huge shout out to fill-in Tom Kennedy for being reliable, being dependable.
Kennedy, my main man, Kennedy. Love it.
But yeah, the offense was amazing, right? There's not a single negative thing I have to say about the offense. And yes, I do know Jared Goff threw a pick six.
Lost the game
And
for
they
us.
they still only lost by 3.
Yeah,
that
let's talk about the kicker. We got plenty to talk about here.
there's plenty to talk about, but that's the good. Do any of you guys have anything else that you need to chime in on? Is there any special shout out that you guys want to give out to anybody that I did not mention?
No, go ahead, John.
I just wanted to talk about the depth. I mean, we were still without 40% of our starting O-line, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, both down, running back 1, and we still managed to put up 45 points. I think that's a credit to the pieces Brad Holmes has put into place here. We're going to return to this topic later,
right.
But the pieces Brad Holmes has put in place, the huge shout out, credit where it's due to Ben Johnson. And I just want to say a special shout out. I feel personally vindicated with Jared Goff. I've been on the Jared Goff train since last season.
Oh boy.
And I said, he's the guy. He's going to be, there's no reason to draft a quarterback because he is it. And the first game, there was some doubt in my heart. Let's just say, but no, it really seems like we're doing sort of a speed run of last season. So hopefully the turnaround that happened sort of mid-season comes a little sooner and we can kind of get our stuff together a little bit quicker. But yeah, special shout out to Jared Goff, and that's all I have.
Yeah.
Good
Special,
call.
yeah, it's huge shout out. I forgot to mention Ben Johnson.
Yeah, good call on that, John. Yeah,
Yeah.
Ben Johnson. I think that and again, early, but if we have a unique offensive mind on our side calling the plays, like that's amazing to have, right? These days, you have to
Yeah.
have that. I agree with John a little bit on the Holmes. Yeah, they can build an offense, right? We can, hey, we can build an offense, guys. But we're going to talk about the other
That
side of the ball here soon.
yeah.
I'm with you again, and I want to give a shout out to Tom Kennedy. I mean, dude came in and he did his job, dude. He got open when Goff needed him too. That was a big conversion.
Mhm.
Ex-Lax player, I think, just knowing playing the field a little bit. I'm a big Kennedy fan, and I appreciate that. And Reynolds, dude, the serpent of death was just. I mean, that dude, you've got to give him a lot of credit, man. He is caught, and I don't know, but he's caught a lot of. It feels like he catches a lot of big time balls, like
Yeah.
not yours, Meko, but like he catches a lot of I mean, it always feels like that third down. I don't know if it is, but it feels like when you need when you need a first down, he's gonna catch it. He's there. He's and it's like fingertip catches too. It's not like at his body.
Yeah.
He's outstretched catching that. So, you know, love the serpent, man. A great game. And then Jamal, dude, Jamal literally tried to put this team on his back, in my opinion. He was the guy screaming at the team in Hard Knocks, being like, I don't want to feel like this ever again. And I gotta say, he did everything in his power that he could do to try and win that game. And I thought he ran even harder. I thought he'd been running hard. I thought he had a great game.
Yeah.
I really hats off to him and running so hard. Like, dude is strong. He can he had a good game. Good for him. And Jared Goff, he's continuing to show that he can be the guy, right? Is this his first it's not his first pick of the season.
Nope.
It's
Third. Yeah, I
All
believe.
right, but still, I think it was unfortunately a bad time to get a pick. But you know what? I thought he had a heck of a game. He kept the offense moving, and you got to give him credit, right? He's moving the guys. So
Yeah.
again, I think those are the guys, and Ben Johnson added on to that. So no, Meko, that's a great list. Yeah.
Also want to throw in I am going to throw in Dan Campbell as an honorable mention because
DC.
the ego, like to
Dizzle.
swallow your pride and be like, you know what? No, I'm going to trust Ben Johnson to call this offense because Dan did a great job last year. But for him to take a step back and be like, nah, I think Ben can take us to new heights. That's leadership, right? That's true. Like that's the type of leadership you want, where he's evaluating the guys around him and he knows who to put in place.
I agree. And now he's going to have his next big challenge as we get into it.
Yeah, and that unfortunately comes in the form of defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn. And AG's not having a good start to the season, and a lot of criticism. We lobbied a little bit of criticism to him last week. He's getting even more criticism this week after his defense's performance against Seattle. And John, I'm going to credit you with this because you asked, maybe not this question worded exactly like this, but it was very similar to this, which is like, is AG finding himself in a situation that is very similar to Anthony Lynn last year? John, I would like for you to kind of jump into this first because like I said, I do think this was kind of your question and how you presented it.
Yeah, and short answer is no, but he's got to be getting close. If they keep putting up these performances, I don't see how he's not. So I don't think he's there. I think just like with TJ Hawkinson, and that whole debate about whether or not he was living up to expectations or where he was earning his contract and all the other things people were saying, I think we consume so much media nowadays, like all at once, and then we forget that like sports actually kind of happens in linear time and that only 4 games have been played. And like, I know it's super frustrating because, there's literally so much content you can consume and you can just obsess about everything for a week. But I do think it's only 4 games. Like Meko was saying, we were getting it done on offense without Hawkinson, and he was still a valuable piece. But I feel like a little bit of that is factoring into the Aaron Glenn not being on the hot seat quite yet. But again, if Matt Patricia's offense puts up 30 plus points, 35, 40 plus points on this, then he absolutely will be. And I think it's not going to be pretty. And I think it will be, I don't know, I think it will be deserved at that point. I mean, because that's just like salt in the wound with it being a Matt Patricia and
I can't even I can't even stomach that possibility. Like,
yeah, and a third string quarterback. So,
Scotty, you can go because I'm trying to fight back rage.
So no, is AG in the same situation as Anthony Lynn? No. In my opinion, why no, not even close, is Anthony Lynn was a head coach before. I think Anthony Lynn and Dan Campbell had differences, like to the core. And I think that got sorted really quick. I think that was, in my opinion, something that I felt happened there. I think that Anthony Lynn was, again, I don't know, but from what we've heard, right, there's reasons why that happened so quickly. I think AG and the relationship with Dan Campbell, I think that they have a good relationship. I think that is something that will get us through this, right? And so again, to a shout out to Dan Campbell, and hopefully what he can do is help navigate these waters, because he's going to try and protect AG as he would any other player, right? Say we're having a bad, like Goff or anybody else. This is the family. This is the team. I don't think they're making a change. I don't, I think AG can do it. I think the mentality has to change. I don't think we can go and be so aggressive. Yes, we're trying to be and mimic Dan Campbell and be aggressive on offense and be aggressive on defense. You can't do that. Clearly, you can't do that. It's not working. So our defense needs a little bit of a different mentality and a shift change. Now, they said it today. They were going to do it. Things are going to change, and they need to. So, again, this is going to have to be something Dan Campbell leads, right? He's going to have to focus on the defense and help AG make this right. So, no, I don't think he's in a situation where Anthony Lynn is, but I think that this is a flag. This is a problem. This is something that needs to be addressed right now. And I think all hands on deck, and we're going to do that. Offense continue, Ben continue, right? It's one of those things in which the coach goes, the offense checks it out, goes, the defense checks it out, right? I think that Dan Campbell is going to be the defensive end for the next couple of weeks figuring this out. I mean, we can somehow figure this out with the pieces we have, because goodness knows we're going to talk about it. We need some, we do need some help, right? We need some, there's a talent lack here. To Meko's point, we've talked about it. I do think that focus is going to be there. I think if we address it, we can change some things and make some things happen. I hope, because we have to, because if they don't, then it is AG's job, right? If we lose, now here's a question. I'll put you both on the spot real quick before Meko goes. Give him another second to think about it. If we lose to the Patriots, is that now an AG thing more? Like, let's just say we lose to the Patriots and somehow lose it. Is that like, or is it not, right? Or we're figuring stuff out? I guess that's my question.
If you give up 30 points again, okay. It's an AG issue.
Okay. Then
if you lose like 21-24, no, I don't think.
Okay.
I think it'd still be an AG issue. If you lose 10-7,
no, I get that.
Then we look at Ben Johnson, and be like, what the hell did you do this game?
Right. Yeah. You clearly didn't prepare it. I don't think that happens, as we'll get into our scores later, but that was just my quick aside. I agree, because if it is, it can quickly become an AG issue, because if we can't do this rest of the season, someone's going to have to, someone has to be held accountable for it. And I don't think it's Dan Campbell. I don't think it's going to be Brad Holmes, and so that's just where I land with it. I hope it doesn't get there, but we'll see. Anyway, Meko?
I'm right there with you guys. It's not really the same situation. Scotty, I think you kind of lended yourself to it. I think the biggest thing that got Anthony Lynn, excused from Detroit, because I'm going to say that nicely, excused from Detroit, was the philosophical differences, was the differences in how Aylin wanted to run his offense versus how Dan Campbell wanted the offense to run. And that ultimately was, as we saw once Dan Campbell took over, was a clear difference in how this offense was able to perform. I don't think there's a philosophical difference in how Dan Campbell wants to play defense and how Aaron Glenn is playing defense. I think they are absolutely lock in step with how they want to play defense.
Sure.
The disconnect is what these players are capable of doing or how they are doing it. And based off of a lot of the press conferences that happened today with Dan Campbell, Deshaun Elliott spoke, Josh Reynolds spoke, a lot of the like tidbits that you're getting from those interviews and those press conferences, it's a lot to do with trust and execution and overcompensating. And so, not to say that's not an Aaron Glenn situation or an Aaron Glenn problem, because the minute you start saying things like, "Hey, we're going to simplify the defense," then you've basically said that you implemented a very complex defense to begin with. And I understand why that can be frustrating for fans, but I also understand why that's frustrating for Dan Campbell, because if we can take a moment and look back to early training camp and OTAs and things like that, Dan Campbell was very excited about the possibility of moving past the basics, right? That they had a lot of these guys before, and they were looking forward to being able to build upon what they established the year prior. Well, what we're seeing is that these guys aren't ready for that step. And that is partially, I think, has to do with personnel, and it's partially to do with talent. Like they're maybe asking guys to do things that they just cannot do. But you also got to keep in mind, in this game specifically with the Seahawks, you had 3 rookies starting at safety, linebacker, and defensive end. Now, those guys still have a job to do. They still have to perform. Like, not excusing any of that. But that's a steep learning curve for 3 players out of 11. It's just, and then you throw in the mix, Deshaun Elliott is new to this team.
Right.
Isaiah Buggs is playing defensive tackle. He is new to this team.
Yep.
That's a lot of new pieces. And so it's not an excuse, but it's like when you start saying that we need to simplify things, I kind of see where that comes from, because you have so many new faces, so many new pieces that actually probably aren't up to speed on how you want things executed.
Right. And when they're not, Meko, right? We have heard and seen on, like, we've heard from the players, people covering because they know the other person can't do their job.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not doing your job, right? I mean, it does go back a little bit to the original Patriots, like do your job type mentality. In that type of mentality, you're doing your job and not other people's job. Now they've created such a culture in Detroit of a team. This could be where it hurts them a little bit, in which guys are trying to help out for those that can't do it because they know they can't. And then they get burned because they're not doing their job completely. So their focus is distracted. So, to your point, Meko, I get it. I understand it. And I'm with you. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, speaking of, again, people doing their job and again, trying to cover for people, there is one person that I just mentioned, again, one of these rookies who has a very big job and there's a lot of expectations on him. And unfortunately, like, it hasn't all been like sunshine and roses. And I think so it's fair to kind of raise this question, but is it time to be concerned about Aidan Hutchinson and the performance that he's putting on display?
Yes.
Scotty, let's go with you.
Yes. Yeah, I think so. I think that, you get a couple games to get up to speed and, yeah, I mean, Meko, let's go back to the draft a little bit, right? We thought we were going to take Thibodeau, right? We were talking Thibodeau. Now I know we're going to go back for a second here, and it's we have Aidan, and we like Aidan, right? Don't get me wrong here. Like, let me say this first and foremost: I am an Aidan fan. I like him. He's a great fit for the Lions, but like we talked about, that transition from college to pro ball, he's not a huge dude, right?
I mean, he's pretty huge.
He is pretty
6'6".
huge. He's pretty huge, but he's not. I mean, he's not a massive guy. Like there are others that were bigger. I just think that Aidan has a lot to learn, more than I thought he had to learn, is my biggest
Okay.
takeaway. So I think that he has a lot more to learn than I thought. I thought he would be more plug and play, like we were told from the Lions. Oh no, he's in. He's a real deal, plug and play. And okay, all right, no problem. First game, okay, first game jitters, no problem. Finally, okay, the Commanders game, okay, this is what he's capable of. He can do this. Now, I don't think it was all him, right? He gets a lot of help when he gets to the quarterback and gets rushed. He gets help. Kaminsky is good at that, and but I guess my point is that he is not plug and play. He is not ready to go. He has a lot to learn. So I am a little concerned because he needs to learn it quickly, because we need him to do more. Because I didn't, I didn't really see him on Sunday. I saw him, but didn't really
But
see him.
you didn't see him. Yeah.
Right, correct. He didn't make his impact on the game, right? Just watching, like Aaron Donald, not comparing the two, but when a player puts their stamp on a game, regardless if they win or lose, I mean, dude, like, where they're at.
Yeah.
Now that's not a fair comparison for the all-time greats, but you can tell when offenses are offenses are focusing on them. And I think there was a little bit of that in the beginning of the season, and now it's like, okay, we know how to handle that. And that also goes to a little bit of our defense. We have tape on our defense now, right? We're 4 games in. There's tape on our D. This is how to beat them. I think there's a little bit of that too, which does not help our situation. So, but back to Aidan. Yes, it's time to be concerned. Yes, I think he can come out of it. Also, like AG in this, but I just don't know that he's going to have the season that I thought he was going to have, or a lot of people did.
Sure. I'm gonna agree with you as well. I'm concerned. For those of you who have seen the podcast episode where Gionne and I talked about Aidan Hutchinson and some of like the other draft prospects, I alluded to Aidan Hutchinson to me being like Greek yogurt. And to briefly explain that for those who don't know what I mean by that,
Yes, please
Greek,
elaborate.
there's a lot of people that love Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt is good. It has a lot of benefits to you. It's actually good to have in your diet, things of that nature, right? Me personally, Greek yogurt is not good by itself though. Greek yogurt needs, you know, almonds and strawberries and other like honey and things added to it
Some
for it to be
blueberries up in there.
amazing. Yeah, like for it to be amazing. And that's what I believe Aidan Hutchinson needs. Aidan Hutchinson needs a lot of things around him and added to him, like Scotty's kind of saying, developing his game, but also having pieces around him for him to be amazing. And again, it's his rookie year, and I do think he will add those things. This is not to say like, oh, he's Greek yogurt forever, but up until this point, 4 games in, he's been Greek yogurt. He was really, really good week 2, right? And it was one of those times where it's like you got to get some Greek yogurt. You're like, oh, there's some honey in here, there's some chocolate chips, there's some savory stuff in here that make this really good. But then he went right back to being plain Greek yogurt those other few weeks that he's played. And Scotty, you hit on something that I think is very important and very accurate when talking about Aidan Hutchinson, because I know there's going to be people that are going to jump in the comments and you're going to throw out his pressures, and you're going to throw out, his PFF, pass, rush win rate or whatever the heck that number is that's being floated around there. But you also got to watch the games. You
Right.
got to just trust your eyes in what you see.
Yeah,
And what I see,
Yeah.
right. And what I see when I see Aidan play is what he is. Aidan Hutchinson is motor, and he is relentless. And if you give him enough time, if you give him enough opportunities, he will get to the quarterback. He will get in position to make a play. That Washington game, guys, please go back and watch it. I think only one of those sacks you can even argue is like a clean, like, oh, Aidan won there and got a clean
he
sack.
won, like he beat the guy and got the sack, right?
Right.
Like, yeah, everything else, it was a group. I mean,
It's,
or one
it's a group.
Yeah.
It's a group effort, or it's him just, again, not giving up on a play and eventually getting there. I think you will always be able to count on that from Aidan. Aidan will always have that in his tool bag. The things that he needs to add, though, are the abilities to win one-on-ones, the abilities to split double teams. Because Gionne, I know you pointed this out about how often he's doubled and things of that nature, or you may bring it up in a minute. Those things are real things, but as a professional now, you have to learn how to win and how to basically not allow those to be easy ways for you to get taken out of a game. Because, like Scotty said, there's tape now. And what people will see on tape is, oh, if we just send another guard
Yeah.
to chip him, oh, he's out the play. Aidan's going to have to adapt. He's going to have to add those extra ingredients to himself to make him the amazing yogurt that he can be.
Amazing yogurt. I love that. That's a t-shirt. Amazing yogurt.
Gionne, where do you stand?
So I feel like he could be, I'm going to be hyperbolic here, and
what does hyperbolic mean?
Like over the top.
Okay, love it. Love it. Perfect.
So a few weeks ago, I was coming out of the grocery store, and someone was just really stupid in front of us, and I had to slam on the brakes, and the bag fell forward.
Oh,
and it was fine. I knew it. There was nothing in
was
the bag.
There fruit in there that exploded? It got out of the bag?
No, it was, thankfully, for any bag for it to happen, that was great. It was a fine. But one thing that did, so I got home and I like repacked the bag and carried it all upstairs. Well, a few days later, the car there was this really weird smell, and my wife literally thought a squirrel like crawled up into the engine block and died. It smelled that bad.
Oh no.
And so
some got out of that bag.
So I missed a thing of tofu that had slid way far up under the driver's seat. Ooh. And then Rachel went to work the next day, and it's, she has to park outside, and it was like LA in July. And so that thing sat in like a 100-degree car. And I don't know why I'm telling this, because I just,
it was what?
Because I feel like Hutchinson is good. I just don't want Hutchinson to be the yogurt that falls too far underneath the driver's seat, and then like you park and it just becomes, it literally, you can't get the smell out of your car for 2 weeks, even after you take out the interior carpet. So hopefully Aidan doesn't turn into that. Am I concerned about Aidan?
I don't think
honestly, even after that very tired, that very laborious metaphor. No, I'm actually not. Even I know I said yes in my notes, but after hearing all this, I can't in good faith just talk about, with Dan Campbell and AG saying it's only 4 games. It's only 4 games. It was rookie year. Am I concerned? No. Am I frustrated? Yes. I'm not concerned for his future, but I am frustrated for the number 2 overall pick not being, as you said, Scott, plug and play NFL ready from day one. Because that's really
what we were told. Yeah,
that's what we were told, and that's what you kind of expect from anyone pretty much in the top 10. It seems like. So like the fact that he's not living up to that is frustrating, except for 2 quarters. To Meko's point about the help, I think there was one play in the 4th quarter where he bull rushed, and I think he creamed Geno Smith. However, and that was when he threw that like 30-yard thing to Tyler Lockett to basically, like, I'm not gonna say ice the game, but pretty much end the game. And had Oruwariye just like
done his job,
all he needed to do was give Aidan Hutchinson like 1/4 of a second. If Tyler Lockett wasn't as wide open as he is, Geno Smith gets blown up. That's probably a fumble too, because like if he got creamed.
Yeah.
And so, and is that a knock on Aidan? I don't know. It is a team game, and sure, I completely agree with Meko. He needs more individual. I'm not even going to say effort, but like, because like they're figuring
it's individual success.
Individual success, great, perfect way to say it. And so he does need more of that, and it's frustrating that he's not doing that, because the entire debate around Hutchinson, Thibodeau, Walker was floor versus ceiling. And we were all like, well, Hutchinson absolutely has the highest floor of all of these guys. He
Mhm.
may not have the highest ceiling, but he has the highest floor. And I don't know, I'm not really seeing a high floor right now. Like he said, he flashed for 2 quarters. So I feel like we saw his ceiling for 2 quarters. And my God, it was amazing to watch. But if his floor is just like another, it becomes invisible. So
Well, I was gonna say, like, that's the floor. Like, the floor of what we've seen, and I'm sorry to cut you off, Gionne, but, like, the
no,
floor
I
of
was
what
done.
we've
Thank you. You
seen
bailed me out.
the floor of what we've seen right now is no stats, is no tackles, and
Nothing.
just pressures. And again, like I said, week 1 after they lost to the Eagles, pressures are like the stat that just says, "Well, you tried." You weren't just out there doing nothing. You were trying. Aidan has to capitalize. He does. He has to win those individual one-on-ones. And that's why it is concerning to me because Gionne, I'm glad you brought up the floor situation. If we expected his floor, at a minimum, the floor was that Aidan would be a great run defender.
Yes.
Minimum.
Correct.
I don't even think he's been that. Now, Dan gave him credit for like making some plays this last game, but like he hasn't been that. And Scotty, to your point, I mean, is Malcolm Rodriguez the better defensive rookie right now?
In my opinion, yeah, 1,000%.
I kind of think so too. Yeah.
He's been the top rated. I mean, dude, it's not all ratings, but the ratings, his stats, and the eye test. He's in every play. He's got a foot. Like literally, he's like the foot monster. He gets a foot and it's it. Now he's been beat a couple times, but he's been beat like 3 times. Like that I can remember and watch. He's been actually beat. Like maybe.
I mean, he got beat pretty consistently. But like again, this entire defense did. But
the whole defense did. There was no help. I mean, that was just okay.
But
Up
that's
to last week's game. I can remember 3. This game was just bad all around. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. But he still had some really big plays. He showed up in this game, right? He had some big plays. He had the fumble, right? He created that fumble in the punt return, right? He punched it out of Lockett's hand. Like, dude, that's what I thought that we were gonna have from Hutch,
Yeah,
so.
and again, not to to John's point, it's not like I'm giving up on him, and I think Scotty used the same thing. That we're giving up on him, but there's a difference in positions that they play that Malcolm and Aidan play, but we can't argue and act as if we haven't seen more impact plays from Malcolm, at this point.
Yeah. So go ahead.
So no, I was gonna say. So having said that, I mean, we got to dive into this defense, and I mean, there are a lot of problems on this defense, but Gionne, if you had to pick one, what's the biggest problem that you're currently seeing with this defense?
I honestly am going to say, I might be getting some pushback here, but the coaching and play calling. And I say that because I went back and we switched over from a 3-4 to 4-3 and all that entails. Last season, we held 7 opponents under 20 points. So like something was clicking last year. Same AG was the same guy calling plays last year. So something's clearly changed. And I don't know if that is we were talking about with complexity, if it was too much too soon. And if it was, then I think that is something to recognize from coaching. Is this more than these players can handle? It certainly seems that way. Someone mentioned OTAs and training camp. How many times did we continually hear that the offense was getting the better of the defense in OTAs and training camp? First day of the joint practices with the Colts, defense got absolutely smoked. Yes, they made adjustments and they were getting some stops, but I feel like the signs, I'm not going to say red flags, but the signs were there that there were issues on this defense, some big ones. And maybe the second day of Colts training camp, they did simplify it. maybe the next day after the offense won in training camp, maybe they did simplify, and this is just what needs to happen because last season, yeah, we held 7 opponents under 20 points. The last thing I say, which is my main pushback to personnel, I do think a lot of people are there is a lot of execution problems. I watched one breakdown where the linebackers, there was on that the tight end bootleg, the linebackers, because they put the guy in motion and the linebacker shifted, and they shifted way too far, and then they ran it again and they shifted again way too far. They made the exact same mistake on the exact same play and got burned by the tight end, like in the exact same way. And I think that's on coaching as well. But lastly, and I'm trying to keep this quick, just want to read this whole quote. The Lions would be 4-0 if they only had the second worst defense in the NFL. The Lions currently have the worst defense in the league, surrendering 35.2 points per game. The second worst defense in the league at this moment is the Arizona Cardinals, who surrender 29 points per game. The Detroit Lions' 3 losses in this year have been by margins of 3 points, 4 points, and again 3 points. If the Detroit Lions give up 6.2 fewer points per game, they win all 3. They are 4-0. The Lions don't need a good defense. They don't need a mediocre defense. They don't even need a plain old bad defense. All they need is not the literal worst defense in the league. And I do not think that our personnel is the absolute worst by a margin of almost 6.5 points. I
Totally
don't
agree.
think our personnel
Okay,
is
nope.
that bad.
Nope. I'm gonna disagree.
So
Strongly.
shout out to stats on that, John. Where'd we get that from?
I got it from I don't know their screen name, but I got it from a Reddit thread.
Okay. Shout out to the Reddit thread. Thanks, Reddit thread.
I'm going to strongly disagree. Not because that, and I'm not disagreeing that coaching and play calling isn't a factor, right? I'm disagreeing with the last part where you're saying you don't think personnel is that big of a problem, because I do. I think it's a huge, huge problem. I think there's a huge discrepancy in defensive talent. There is not a single player on this defense that you trust to win on a one-on-one. There's not a single person on this defense that can go into a game and you're like, well, that dude is at least going to cause a problem. To Scotty's point, he pointed out Aaron Donald earlier. I'm going to give you another player that's really good, really, really good. He's not Aaron Donald, though. I watched the Saints-Vikings game. Cam Jordan is a monster. He is somebody that you have to account for. And even though you go into a game knowing Cam Jordan is going to wreck your offense and you're going to do everything in your power to try to limit him, he still does it. There is no one on this defense doing that. Not a single person, not a single man on this defense that you can trust to go into a game. Not Aidan, not Charles Harris, not Aleem, none of the linebackers. You can trust certain guys to be solid. You can trust certain guys to be productive. You cannot trust any of those guys to wreck a game. That's not happening.
Right.
And so to say that there's not a gap or that there's not a significant gap in personnel, I strongly disagree, because I don't think there's a star player on this defense. There's a lot of good players. Jeff Okudah is playing above where we thought he would be, coming off an Achilles injury, but a lot of guys have regressed. Amani regressed. Charles Harris regressed. Alex Anzalone maybe stayed the same.
Well, that's my point, and that's why I brought up last season we held 7 opponents under 20 points, and we signed Aidan Hutchinson. We got Deshaun Elliott. We got Malcolm Rodriguez. Like 3 of our 4 top draft picks were defense. So the talent wasn't there last year either. Like the talent
wasn't good. Like the talent wasn't.
But they still were holding teams under 20 points though. The same squad.
Right, and guess what? When happens when that same squad doesn't perform to the same level, John? Guess what happens when Charles Harris isn't generating sacks?
If we were still in a three,
guess what happens when Aleem isn't stopping the run and being like an actual force in the middle? this. Now, that's why I said I'm not saying that coaching, like the decision to go from a 4-3 to a 3-4, yes, probably does have an impact. But these players are still not executing. Charles Harris is still overrunning his pass rush lanes. This
They're
is not just
all
a simple fact.
overrunning.
Yeah.
They're all
Th-
overrunning.
Right. Like this is not just, it's not just, right? And I want to be really clear. I'm not wholeheartedly disagreeing with you, like your take on
Yeah, and
coaching.
I'm not
Okay.
wholeheartedly disagreeing with you either, I think.
But, and it's funny because I'm talking about personnel. My pick was going to be execution. But I do like hearing you say that personnel isn't that bad. No, I think the personnel was always that bad. It was a huge testament to Aaron Glenn to get this personnel to play to a higher level. Let's not forget, prior to last year, Charles Harris was written off as a bust. He had never had a productive season as productive as he did last year. Aleem was a rookie, and he played really, really well for a rookie. A lot of things just like lined up well. Amani had his best year like ever in the league.
Yep.
But we even said after week 1, maybe this team doesn't have a CB1. It's 2 CB2s. So like with that admission, we are basically saying Amani was never as good as a 6 pick a year guy. Like that's not who Amani is. But he can be really good when he's on his P's and Q's, when he's doing his job, when he's executing the way he's supposed to execute, playing proper technique. He's good. He can be very good. But he's not a game changer. There's not a single game changer on this defense. That speaks to personnel. There is a problem with personnel. And when you already have a problem with personnel and then players don't execute, you give up 30 plus a game.
Yeah. And I totally agree. And I think the debate here for me is like 65-35. Like, is it execution and coaching? And I think I'm arguing that it's like 65 coaching. I think you're arguing 65, maybe 70% execution.
I mean, if I'm being completely honest, right? This is a 30-30, like this is a 30-30 split all the way around. It's just like it's just that we're asking the question, and I have to put my I have to put my hat in a bucket.
Yeah.
But there's like no, this is a everyone in this situation deserves blame. Coaching,
you
players,
ruined it.
GM.
That's what I was gonna come in with and just drop the hammer and be like, that's where I'm at, dude. It's everybody.
Well, so but that's the like, and I guess just to go back to like that's why I come down on coaching is that the coaches made the decision to switch this defense. Like,
sure,
I can get your point that these players regressed. These players, like Aleem was a rookie at a great year, and then now they're playing worse. Arouari is playing worse, except for Okuda, who's still really good. And like, I feel like that would be a fair thing to say if nothing changed, but they completely revamped the way the scheme and everything else. And now players are regressing. So if players were regressing under the same system, same scheme, same terminology, same vocabulary, everything, then sure, then I would be more willing to say that this is execution. But in the fact that, players have to execute, like, what are they executing? They're executing a plan. They're executing a system. And so I think the coaches made the decision to change what held defenses to under 20 points 7 times last year. They opted to not do that again. So I think that's the last thing I'll say.
Sure. And when I say execution, right, I mean not just like executing a game plan, because they're failing at that too. Dan Campbell said as much. Deshaun Elliott said as much. They're not communicating. People are overcompensating for others. So they're not executing. Like, that's an admission. You're not executing even the game plan. But I even mean like when it's simple stuff, going back to Aidan winning one-on-ones. Like at the core, right? We talked about this, and I love this line from AG. A man whooping another man. Like, that is even execution in itself.
Man whooping another man's.
Yep. Right. And
just
that's
like
not happening.
Big
black.
We're trying to make it PG.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's not what this says, though. That's not what this says. It does say big black. energy. It's energy. It's
Oh,
energy.
It's energy.
even better.
But
It's a great team.
but yeah, like I'm sorry, Scotty. Gionne and I went back and forth, but go
No,
ahead,
you're
jump
good.
in.
No,
No,
yeah,
go
and
ahead, John. John, wrap it up.
I just want to, yeah, one last thing, and I'm so glad you brought up that quote because I in your guys' show notes, and then like all of the stats and everything, I have a separate notes for like things that I want to say, and I went back to that quote by AG is this game is about one man whooping another man on Hard Knocks, and we all loved it, and it's a great philosophy, so long as you have the horses. if you don't like, if you
Right.
don't have the guys capable of whipping another man, then you don't, and I think then you have to change the. You're like that philosophy is great
Mhm.
if you have the horses, but
Well,
we
and then this
clearly
is
don't.
where, yeah, and so this will go into my point. This is where coaching comes in, right? This is where Dan Campbell has to come in and they have to readdress the situation like we talked about. So, and having said that, right, and then talking about all this, my real quick, I'm going to say, to me, it leans more on coaching. Yes, there's talent issues, lack of talent, lack of there's regression. Yes, all of the above. We're all there. And so if that's the case, right? Why is, and again, I'm going to say what, to me, then why are you, as Dan Campbell, giving Seattle the ball right off the bat? Like you always
Mhm.
want to put your best foot forward. Why are we putting our weakest foot forward? So to me, that in this game, and um, that's not instilling confidence in your defense. If you know, and you're hoping that they're going to do well, and they don't, that's not going to help their confidence in the game. So, it starts there. Aaron Glenn has to address it too with his with with his players,
Mhm.
and he has, but again, we're gonna then go all the way to Calvin Shepard saying in Hard Knocks, why is this rookie 6th-round rookie
Yeah,
beating all of you? Why?
Mhm.
Because he's better than all of them. I mean, like at this point, like dude, like Malcolm Rodriguez is better than all of them. Calvin Shepard said it first. He called this out a month ago, but a month ago. He saw it. He's seeing that happen. So that is a problem. That is a flag. That is something that potentially we thought we could hide with our high-powered offense. And now is there something, and I'm going to be stretching here. Miko, I like to stretch. I'm very flexible.
Mhm.
Um,
I don't
well,
know that. That's
well,
something that you and your wife probably have better.
I'm very flexible. She can attest. Um, well, what I'm saying is because we're scoring so many points, is our defense just relaxing? It's like, oh, we don't have to like go out like last year we weren't scoring as many points. Like defense really got to help us. Like, and it's just a mentality thing again. Like, I have no idea. I'm reaching for this, but like, how is, it maybe that doesn't tie in, but to me as a team, you're like, oh, dude, our offense has got it. We're good. It's like, oh no, we're not good. So just a little reach there, but my main point is that comment that Calvin made about Rodrigo. Why is he beating? He's going to steal all your guys' jobs because he has. So
Yeah.
that's my quick take on that. I mean,
No, and I think again to kind of put a bow on this segment, like again, like I said earlier, and I don't think there's a wrong answer here, right? If you're a fan and you're watching this segment and you're saying no, it's absolutely not any of these, then you're wrong, right? If you think it's none of these things, if you think it's only one thing, you are being very short-sighted
if you
because
think
it's
it's the offense or Jared Goff,
oh,
go
then you're just
yourself.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Because people
That
are saying that it's Goff's fault. They can
your
lick
defense gave up
Miko's
40 plus
big
points.
black.
Yeah.
I just like using it right now.
But it's this issue with the defense runs deep. It's coaching, it's personnel, it's execution, and it's equally shared. Maybe some games it's a little bit more on one area than the other, but there's a problem all the way around. And so you can't just dismiss any of them. And one thing that we didn't bring up that I think is equally part of the problem, and I'm going to jump ahead a little bit because I really want to get this in. Does Brad Holmes deserve any blame in this situation based on where the Lions currently sit? Gionne, I know you are chomping at the bit for this one, so go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just want to discuss because like I honestly don't know. I think maybe he does, and um, I know a lot of people might not like the take, but I think I think it's a justifiable question to ask going into the draft this year. We know we did defense was really struggling. The offense seemed to kind of figure it out last towards the end. Wide receiver was a position of need, no question about it. We went out and signed Chark and then drafted Jameson Williams. But the offense has now put up 30 plus points in one game, put up 45 points in a game without that person that you gave up 32 and 34 for. So I think my question kind of comes in two parts. 2 years in a row now, Brad Holmes has drafted injured D linemen in the second round. I want your guys' opinion on that. And then the second question being, does the fact that we are on pace to be literally the worst defense in the history of the NFL change your perspective on using 32 and 34 to move up to draft a wide receiver? I want to be clear. This is not about Jameson Williams. This is not about who we got. This is about what we gave up to get it. Obviously, I'm just as excited about Jameson Williams to get in as anyone. I do think he can be a generational talent. Be like the fastest player in the league. So I am very excited and happy we have him. But knowing that Seen, Logan Hall, McCreary, Piter, Ebiketie, Gordon, Mafe, Mathis were all still available at this team at linebacker, cornerback, or DT. Would you rather have two of those 7 players than
I can hop in. I can hop
Yeah,
in. Real
I was gonna
quick.
say, how do you go
Yeah,
first?
yeah. My biggest thing, right, with the Lions team that we need to win now. We need players that are going to play right now, right? That's why we drafted Hutch, right? Plug and play. Knowing that Jameson's going to be out for so long, that to me is tougher to swallow than the talent, right? He'll come in and he will help, right? He will help. He'll come win. He'll come in after a bye week. That's fine. But is that too late, right? Like at that point, like okay. So to me, I don't think it was a mistake to do that and get that now. Like I said earlier, goodness, we can put together an offense, right? So
yeah.
goodness gracious, right? Now imagine with the offense with JMO if he was able to play right away, like okay, and maybe that helps us win a couple games. I don't know, right? It's all hypotheticals. But my thing and what we've talked about is we're trying to draft players that can help right now. That was not a situation in which he can help right now. Now we were again almost we're almost super close to almost winning again and again and again. So yeah, I mean, yeah, looking back now, but if somehow we get these win, I mean, it is we are on to me the tip of a knife a lot of times, and that's why I think it's a heartbreaker for us as Lions fans and just everything. We're on the tip of that knife, and last year was a lot of that, and this year is some more of the same, and so that's I think where we end up. But that's where I would go, John. Is I just think we were talking about getting talent to help us right now. Now Jameson can't. As soon as Jameson can hit the field, yeah, he can help us right then. But that's what after the bye week, where are we at then? Now again, we have to keep in mind one last thing. We're 4 games in. Still a lot of football left to be played. Now we're just putting more and more pressure on us later in the season with better quarterbacks we have to face, right? We talked about this. This is a little bit of that this time right now. We were hoping to be 2-2 or better. So it just puts us behind the 8 ball a little bit, which that's what, hey, the grit and the leadership, and that's what we're building towards. So we will see. But that's my two cents on that. Meko?
Yeah. So to answer the first part of your question, John, I am concerned about the drafting of injured players because I do understand there's a rolling of the dice there, right? Teams have medicals and you're able to evaluate and you have a very good sense on what that injury is and the average like medical attention that probably needs to be put towards that for you to be able to have that player healthy. I feel like the NFL is very much a pattern. Like you can see, like there's certain patterns that happen with certain injuries. And one thing that seems to stick out to me, at least, is that whenever you have a back injury with a lineman, that's never good. Right? Like that, I wouldn't even object to teams treating back injuries on linemen in the same way as like ACL tears on running backs. Like it's not career ending, but you do lose something because back injuries are tricky. So when in regards to Levi, I think Brad has to take a long look in the mirror as to why he made that decision, knowing that Levi had a back injury. Josh Pascal is a little bit different because I feel like he was pretty healthy and then got into like rookie training camp and probably re-aggravated something. So I feel like that's a little bit of a freak accident, but he did have an injury history. He does have a history of little nicks and knacks here. So
in cancer,
which again, no fault of anybody's,
right?
But
yes,
it's a reality. That's something that he dealt with. In regards to that question though, like the thing that it like draws me back to is this conversation that we kind of had during the draft process where I was very like much questioning this whole like narrative of, look, these guys want character guys. And I think that's always been, if we're looking at, well, why did Brad Holmes draft these guys? Well, I'm pretty sure we can go back to those press conferences and you will probably hear him say somewhere along the lines of something of like, hey, these are good guys. These are guys that we can trust. These are guys that we can believe in. You know, they fit our identity. They fit the makeup that we expect guys to have. And maybe they do from a culture standpoint. But do they have the makeup physically? Do they have the physical makeup to last in the NFL? And Brad Holmes is going to have to take a very long look in the mirror in this upcoming draft because it's back-to-back years, defensive tackles that are just a little too banged up. Now, to the second part of your question, though, I don't regret trading those picks. And not just for JMO, but because we have to kind of take a step back and remember where we were when the Lions made that move. First of all, we were all excited about the move. We were all excited about the aggressive move. But this offense was actually the bigger question mark.
Yes,
in the draft.
That is very true.
Right? We knew that the offense, like, yeah, they started to play well near the end of the season, but we also knew that they lacked playmakers. Like there wasn't, DeAndre Swift staying healthy to be a dynamic playmaker was a question. Could Amon-Ra St. Brown repeat what he did? That was still a question. Could TJ stay healthy? Is a question. Is Jared Goff the guy? That was a question. And so you went out and got a guy like Jameson who was like, listen, he's the weapon. He's going to be the difference maker for this offense. And we are going to give Jared Goff every opportunity to prove that he is the guy. What we didn't see coming was Ben Johnson being this offensive genius to make things work.
Well, yes, so far, yes, I think we're on the way. I don't think
Dude, they've scored over 35 points in all but one game. I'm willing to label genius because
I'm not there.
It hasn't even
I'm headed there. I'm not there yet, but I'm headed there.
I'm there because it hasn't even looked the same in every game. Like this offense operates differently week to week, and it's amazing to see. So that's why I won't second guess the Jameson trade. But Brad Holmes has some questions that he needs to answer going forward into like future drafts, future free agencies, because culture's great. It really, really is. But you got to find impact players. And John, I'll kind of spin this question back to you in a certain way, but would you want to see Brad Holmes take those 2 first-round picks and try to find a defensive playmaker that he can trade for and bring to this team now?
You mean the 2023?
The current picks that they have in this upcoming draft, yeah. Would you object to Brad Holmes basically like pulling the trigger and trying to get someone here? I don't even I'm not even picking any just if news dropped tomorrow, Detroit Lions trade a first and a second to X team for X star defensive player?
I don't know. I think
I want to preface this, John, your response with the Rams lost again, so their picks.
oh
I'm just
so
saying. Yeah, I'm just saying if that
no, I think
continues, they don't look great.
I don't I think no. I and again, it's trying hard, and you were right to talk about, which I had forgotten, that the offense was the bigger question mark at the end of the season. Because it's very easy for us to ask these questions with the benefit of hindsight, and we didn't have that. We didn't know that the offense was going to figure it out and the defense was going to regress. So this whole question should be taken with a huge grain of salt. That said, trying to go back to where I was at last draft, like, I believed in the plan. I believed in building this through the draft. I believe in getting your fundamental pieces. And so I think, I don't know. I'm going to say no. I think, I don't think we should package one of those to get a big playmaker now. And like, I don't know who's available, and I don't know if that even enters into it, but trying to, put myself back in that mindset. I think I would rather have, to quote Brad Holmes from last draft, more bites at the apple than
Okay.
Well, because we're gonna need them.
Yeah, you know. Because another if hopefully Pascal works out, and I'm really, they see he's back at practice this week. Most likely after the bye, we'll see him maybe against Dallas. Fingers crossed. But Meko had said interior was a sneaky need in this draft that kind of went addressed with an injured player. And, interior Kaminsky, when Hutchinson was playing his best, was when Kaminsky was in the
Correct.
interior.
Yes.
So interior help.
He was taking a lot of attention, right?
Yeah. So I think 2 first-round picks on I don't know. I would rather, it's a volume game, it's a numbers game. I feel like I'm taking up way too much time here. So no, I would rather have the picks.
Okay. Well, we can move to the next question, which is, I think, kind of in the same vein, but it's basically, I mean, then in your opinion, guys, like, what needs to change for this defense? Scotty, you can go first.
Everything. So we need to. I'm with Dan Campbell in regards to we need to assess and we need to adjust everything. What that is, I can't tell you. I'm not a defensive. I in regards to football, like, I'm not a defensive pro to know what we need to do, but we need to shake stuff up as a, like, generally overarching. We need to shake it up, shake it up and simplify, in my opinion, is what we need to do, which is what I've heard that they're going to do. So I'm on board with that and their approach to this right now. And we just need to give it all of our attention right now, right? The offense is working. Let's continue. Ben Johnson, keep going. And let's AG, Dan Campbell's got to focus his attention over here and make sure that we are getting the most out of what we have. If we're not going to give up first round picks or give up picks to get somebody. Again, I don't know who's out there, who we can get. That's always right. If we can get somebody that is right. I mean, if we can get somebody like who's on the Saints you're talking about, I can't remember.
Oh, Cam Jordan.
I mean, that's not going to happen. But like,
if the Saints suck, right? Like, if the Saints aren't going anywhere,
that's true. I mean, but a Cam Jordan, yeah, somebody like that, I'd think about it. I would, because right now, I think it is a lot of attention on all of the leadership to make this work, right? That was part of the draft. We were supposed to draft for players now. Some of the stuff's working, some of it's not. So I think we need a playmaker on the defense. If we can get one, I would say do it, because you know what they are, right? I understand more bites at the apple. I do get that, but clearly we're going to need they're not transitioning immediately. I mean, look at Hutch and Rodrigo, right? First round, sixth round. I mean, I would never have guessed that in my life. So to bet on a sure thing, minus injury, I would risk it. That's why we got the draft pick from the Rams. Now it's looking better and better. So my question is like, they keep losing. I don't know, right? That's where you have to make the decision, which goodness knows whatever happens. But that's my 2 cents on that. So
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
I would have to say, like, my biggest thing that I think the defense needs to do is it needs to switch up some personnel. I think some guys need to be put in a reserve role, and some guys need to be given an opportunity to make some splash plays. My biggest hot take right now, I think Charles Harris needs to go to the bench, and I think Julian Okwara needs to be given an opportunity to start and to be the guy that's out there consistently trying to rush the passer and be disruptive in the backfield. Not because I think Charles Harris is washed by any means, but like, you just gotta shake some stuff up. You gotta bring in some new blood and see if you can get some juice somewhere. I think a minor change that you could do, because I understand what you're saying, Scotty. Like, a lot of things need to change, but too much change at one time can also be chaos.
I get it.
Right? Like, there does need to be some level of continuity somewhere.
Kind of already feels like chaos, but I understand what you're saying.
But
I get what you're saying, though. I'm just being a little facetious, but it was kind of a mess. It's been kind of a mess.
But that would be a change that I would make that isn't like massive, but it's a big enough change to where like maybe something can happen. I think another change that probably needs to be explored, standing Aidan up. It's something really, really small, but again, we saw that he was way more productive at Michigan when he was standing versus when he was in a 3-point stance. Try it. And I'm not saying you have to try it for the whole game. At least on third downs. Let him stand up.
Put him right next to Rodrigo.
I literally put him head up on a tackle and see if, like, because that has been his biggest issue, is that when he rushes from a 3-point stance and he gets into a tackle's chest, dude's not going anywhere. Like, he's stalemated. Give him a chance to stand up. He feels like, at least he said during the pre-draft process, he feels like he's more explosive. He feels like he has more vision. I think you need to, and Dan said as much. Dan at least hinted as much, that maybe they will look at it. Maybe they will, if he feels like he's comfortable there, maybe they will try it. I say try it. I say you try with him and Julian, because we know Julian's better standing. Put them both on the edge, put them both standing, and just tell them to pin their ears back. To John's point, maybe you do incorporate a little more 3-4, and you put pure athleticism on the edges.
And to Meko, to your point, here's the kicker, right? Can't get any worse.
I mean, you can. You're giving up 30.
I mean, you can't. Wait, what? You said you can or you can't?
I said you can't.
That's what I'm saying. You can't. We can't get any worse. We're last. We're giving up the, Yeah. Okay. Right.
Gionne, any suggestions on something that you think needs to be changed, or a change that you would like to see?
Well, if I knew the answer to this question, I wouldn't be only shopping sale items at the grocery store.
Or on this podcast.
Yeah, he could still be on this podcast. He could.
Yeah, you know what? We'd make him.
I still would.
John, tell us.
I'm contractually obligated. Scott's got a great lawyer.
So LA. He had to bring up the contract. He's so LA. Had to bring up.
No, I don't. Yeah, I honestly don't know. Like I said, I'm not. Yeah, the like Scheme X's and those guys. I have to do my homework for that kind of stuff.
Right, it's a tough question. Yeah,
and so, but it just seems like a change I would like to see is just not doing things that they've been doing. I don't know.
Well, John, I think what you're saying is making the same mistake twice.
Yeah, that's a much better. Which they got gashed on that tight end bootleg.
I think
seeing the linebackers make the exact same mistake twice, and I feel like no, that's execution, but also they got the little surfaces on there. Maybe they could see it, but again, adrenaline. One thing it seemed like, Scott, you had said maybe go for someone because we need it now. I still think I just want to touch on that. I have more to say on that than I do what needs to change for the defense.
Go.
Is that another reason why I think we keep the draft is that I think Trey Flowers, Tavai, Brockers, like Vitae, like all of those guys' dead cap comes off after this season, and we will have somewhere between 50 and 70 million in cap space next season. So I think between that and the draft, I think we will be sitting okay. This is a process. I know everyone hates that, but Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes were signed to what 5-year deals. Speaking of
5 and 6 year deals,
5 and 6, yeah.
So they're not going anywhere, and I think that this is, we could be very excited for the progress that they've made, and there are bright spots, but this is a this is a process, and we're only into year 2 of it, and so I think we're going to see I think we're going to see the offseason that we thought we were going to have. Last season. I think we're going to have that this season. There's way more cap money. We now have a much better idea that this offense, even without your the 16th overall pick, even without that player, you can still put up 45 points. I think the offense is fine. Maybe depth at right guard, fine.
Offensive line depth, probably period.
Lot of detective work needed here.
So I think it's just defense, and so between
he wanted to take that drop in really bad.
So bad.
Yeah, no, you tried to force it. It worked last week because you didn't force it.
That's okay. Yeah. Forcing it, I don't care. People get to hear it. Got to give the people what they want.
But no, so yeah, I would just like to see I would like to see them try something new. That's it. If that's
I think that's
standing
fair.
up, if that's Okwara standing up, then if that's all, then fine, great. It's something new.
Yeah, no, I think
what did I say?
I agree.
Okwara.
I think the two things that you said, right? Like, again, trying something new in general, but also like limiting mistakes. Those are definitely things that need to happen in order for this defense to kind of improve. But we also got to talk about what needs to happen in order for the Lions to beat the Patriots.
Hey-o.
So, Gionne, why don't you go ahead and deep dive into this really quick? What do you think the Lions need to do?
It's a galaxy brain take, and it's you're gonna say I'm a genius, but they need to not give up over 30 points.
I mean, in some ways it just feels that simple, right? Like 4 games in, it's just like, hey, maybe if you guys don't give up 30,
that's so funny.
Maybe we win some games.
My score is right there.
So, and I'm gonna keep mine short and sweet because it's kind of a repeat from last week. But dude, you guys got to dominate the line of scrimmage, like you just do. Defensively, Deshaun Elliott said it today because they asked him about, you've played Bill Belichick a lot. What do you think about this new offense now that Matt Patricia's calling plays and this, that, and the other? He was like, man, it's still Bill Belichick. He gonna run that ball. So,
right,
dominate the line of scrimmage in both the run and the pass. Like, I'm looking at all 4 of those guys that are lined up, across the line. Aidan, Aleem, Bugs, Charles Harris, Julian Okwara, whoever the heck they decide to throw in there at the other edge spot. Like, show up, take some pride, and dominate the line of scrimmage.
Yep. I'm with you on that, Meko. Stop the run. That was my thing. Stop the run. Stop the short passes. I mean, contain. Keep the ball in front of you. I don't want to see the bad angles like we saw this past week. And everybody's coming from a bad angle for a tackle. And it's not how you're going to win a game on the defensive end. So, yeah, I want to stop. I just want to see stop the run. I think if you can do that against a Belichick team, I think it forces them into something that they don't really want to do. Also with a, third
string quarterback.
Yeah, so stop the run, please. And yeah, we'll see what happens, because if this dude beats us,
dude, I'm already not happy. You guys made Geno Smith look like freaking Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts. Yep. So I'm with that. Yeah, so that's yeah, simple.
All right, next question. Because I'm getting angry again. Who needs to have the biggest game for the Lions?
Woo. I'll go ahead. the D line. Meko, you and I just touched on it. I think it's it's a no brainer.
Yeah.
I have the D line and AG, right? Like so to me, it's the D line, AG, and Dan Campbell, because another thing I want to get in. So
What is?
Classic
Hold on.
Scott.
Time
giving
out. Time out.
four
Time out. This
Stacks,
is
the
2 weeks
biggest
in a
big
row, man.
est.
This is
stacks,
2 weeks in a row.
stacks.
I think
All
it's
right,
like
fine.
4 weeks.
All
I
right,
think it's like 3
fine.
weeks in a row.
Okay, hold on. Time out. All right, it's every week, guys. Deal with it. All right, so what I'll do is, Meko, I'll give you yours. So what I will say is, I think Dan Campbell needs to have, he needs to have the biggest game because he's going up against Bill Belichick. He went up against Pete Carroll. I think that sometimes, I don't know, it feels like he gets out coached. I would just like him to have everything buttoned up. I would like no timeout issues, no anything. Not that we've had a ton of those, but I would like him to not, I would like to have not any questions in the game or time management that Dan Campbell does this week. Because if we can do that, I think I think we can beat the Patriots, and we'll talk about scores in a second. But I think Dan Campbell needs to make sure everybody's organized and in sync. So to me, it's Dan Campbell.
Scotty said one of mine, so it's the D line. And if you need to understand why, rewind back to like what was most important. So it's the D line. They gotta dominate the line of scrimmage. They gotta wreak havoc. They gotta get to the quarterback. They gotta stop the run. D line has to show up because they will make the job easier for everyone behind them if they do. Gionne?
Yeah, I'm gonna say Aaron Glenn. All eyes are on him at this moment. If his seat isn't hot, it's going to be after this game. If they give up 30+ points to Bailey Zapp and Matt Patricia, there will be
No, say it how you have it
pitchforks and
written here.
torches.
That's not how you have it written here. Bailey Zappi and
Matt fucking Patricia.
Oh man,
the torches and the pitchforks will be out. So, for his own sake, for the team's sake, Aaron Glenn.
All right.
And I think
pretty cut and dry.
but I do think the Lions win. I think we do have like a enough is enough kind of a moment. And so I'm going to pick the Lions to win 42-31.
Woo.
That is not enough is enough. That's like status quo. That's the score.
The score's reversed though. So we got so we come up with the win.
Man, I've said it. I said it 2 weeks ago when we were picking scores for the Commanders that my score prediction for the Patriots game was going to be disrespectful.
Yeah.
Screw Matt Patricia. Screw the Patriots. Lions 38-7. Run it up. Bury them.
Wow. 38-7?
It's a third string quarterback, man. Like, for Christ's sake.
I know.
Yeah.
I can't do that though, but I appreciate it, and I sure as hell hope that's what it is. I got them 34-27. That's what I got the games. Lions winning, pulling it out.
All right, those are the scores.
That's what's up.
Let's hope that we get to 2 and 3 before we go into the bye.
It's very important. I think it's very important for us.
Also, we didn't even touch on, but I will just drop it here. We did get good news. Josh Pascal might be back after the bye, or they're at least going to start the clock on him. They're also going to start the clock on Jerry Jacobs as far as getting them back on the field. So some defensive reinforcements are coming up. I don't know how impactful they'll be, but there's help coming.
Yeah. And hopefully, I don't know how long is Kaminsky out for, but
dude, they don't put a club on that hand.
Yeah, and hopefully Pascal can be that guy that Kaminsky was. Freeze up Hutch.
Well, like we talked about, we're getting to that point in the season which we are supposed to get reinforcements, right? This was the whole idea that we were hoping that we'd be actually better off because then we get reinforcements. Now we're not looking great, but again, JMO can't wait for that debut. It's coming up, so we'll see. We will see. So anything else, fellas? I think that's it for us tonight here.
That'll do.
That'll do it. That'll do it. All right. Again, please like, follow, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And please head over to questionabletees.com. If you've not been there, please go over there for some of the coolest, actually, not some of the coolest Detroit apparel, as the Lions fans told us on Friday. So, anyway, that's it. I want to thank the fam. I want to thank the crew. I want to thank Meko. I want to thank Gionne. I want to thank everybody that we met, Lions fans, Rodrigo, Easy, Spencer. Who else am I forgetting, Meko? I'm forgetting somebody, but anyway, yeah, that's it from Scotty. Meko?
Like always, got to thank my wife, got to thank my girls. Thank all of you guys that are watching and subscribing and engaging with us across all of our social platforms.
That's who I forgot.
We really do appreciate you guys. This is the new norm, right? You guys are seeing this on a Tuesday, so this is the new norm. And more changes are going to be coming to the podcast, and they're all going to be good, and they're all going to be for your benefit. So stay tuned.
Gionne?
We're switching back to a 3-4 on
Oh
this
my
podcast. So we're shaking it up. We're shaking it up. We're gonna try out new things. No, thank you to my wife, of course. She's in the other room, texting me.
Oh, hi.
Again.
Hey, Rach.
And so, yeah, thank you guys, and thanks for everyone who supports us in one way or another.
All right, you guys. All right, that's it. All right, now good luck to the Lions and F the Patriots. So this is the Questionable Podcast out.